Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Ask Muso podcast, brought to you by Yellow Music. I'm very excited to be in one of the most prepared homes I have been for the entire season. So you've done well. You started by telling me that this is like your first podcast in person, but you've treated me to absolutely all the trimmings. So Chris, JaZZella, thank you for having me in your home, and say a little bit about you guys to kick us off.
Hello, it's nice to meet everybody.
Yo!
I'm JaZZella.
I'm Chris Argy.
And it is a pleasure to have you here in our home, Bailey. Thank you for joining us for a pot of tea on the couch.
Yes, fantastic. Well, where do I even begin with you guys? There's anyone who has been involved, was involved with music on the sunny coast, they should or may have known who you are, and I find myself lucky to be in that category as someone who wasn't originally from here, to know you guys and to get to know you guys. So how did music start, maybe individually for each of you, and then sort of how it all came together?
Lovely. Well,
Kick us off, Jazz.
I grew up here on the Sunshine Coast, hometown girl, and I've always loved the music scene here. There's definitely a big place for original music. And Chris over here, you're from far north Queensland.
From Cairns initially, and also Broken Hill, which is in New South Wales, a bit of a desert town. But yeah, so I moved here maybe just before COVID, I think 2019, moved to the sunny coast just to focus on original music and try and set some roots, because as musos we hadn't really had roots anywhere. We were just traveling. Yeah,
and that's absolutely a thing that I think people forget is, like, it's interesting when you see things like the fighters and Olympian stuff, and they go, oh, you know, they're Australian, and they come out and they have this really strong American accent or something, and you go, oh, they're originally from Eastern Hill in Fitzroy, but they've lived all their life in order to train for these tennis comps. They lived in LA for most of their life, but they're Aussie. They don't sound Aussie, but they're Aussie. So it's hard as musos to find that roots thing, as you said, because if you're doing it right, you're not home all the time. Like it's sort of
so
100% true.
You have to move around, spread brand awareness.
Exactly, and also it's one of the things where success is not being at home. Like where success is, oh, we got to play out, we got to play at a thing, and then the ultimate success is to then come home and to be like, we put on one hell of a show and we put on one hell of a thing.
Absolutely.
You've got to have something that grounds you after all of that.
So
you can
true.
be on such highs when you're touring and you know, you're meeting different people every night and you're in a different city every night, and all of that is amazing. But at some point, as an artist, to get creative, you also need to have that peace, that calm, that home
Comfort.
base that reminds you of who you are, and
So true.
and the point of why you're doing all of this as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that being like a bit of a wanderer and floating from thing to thing, and being a muso that has a home that travels, it's like a pretty small grey area if you don't have, as you say, if you don't have that grounding and you don't have somewhere to call home. And I'm not sure if you guys have ever done like the traveling lifestyle in the van life sort of thing.
Most definitely we have.
Absolutely. We started busking in Sydney. So we went on a big tour all through Australia. We did 60 gigs in 60 days. It was stupid.
That is stupid. That's great.
It was not well thought out. I mean, it was well planned on your behalf, but the workload was huge.
Yeah, the admin was great, but then you were like, geez, these Chris and JaZZella guys, they're going to have to
Then we
do
had to
that.
do it.
They're going to have to do that, yeah.
Oh, it was crazy.
And it was a big workload, but the chance to play in so many different remote towns of Australia, we went inland, we went rural.
Mount Isa
Yes, Mount Isa.
Yeah, wow, that's a drive.
stands out as a specific spot that we went
But
to.
also just hitting all those like milestones along the east coast of Australia, like Townsville, Rockhampton, Mackay, Coffs Harbour, Port Macquarie, Maxville.
The central coast of New South Wales.
The central coast, Newcastle, and then heading past Sydney and doing gigs down in Berry. And, you know, sometimes we didn't even have enough money to get to the next town. So we'd play the gig and then we'd corner the bar manager and we'd be like, no, you need to pay us in cash.
We're going to need some cash tonight to get
And we
to the
need to be
next town.
fed as well.
Yes, please. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, and they'd say, no, we only pay via, you know, direct deposit. And we would say, well, we need to get out of this town and go to the next one.
So true. It was a crazy tour, but it gave us a lot of experience.
Lots of learnings.
Right? Lots of different venues, all that sort of stuff.
And they say you got to rack up those 1,000 hours or 10,000 hours.
Yeah, your 10,000 hours of performing or art or whatever it is that you've got to do. to be a perfectionist. I
Yeah,
don't know
okay,
what
yeah.
they say.
Yeah, to have it say
To
you've-
master a craft.
Yeah, to say you've officially cut your teeth.
Yes,
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess
yeah,
so.
yeah, you got
Yes.
that. It's a good baptism of fire to start with, though, as well.
Certainly, yes. 60
So,
gigs.
so where to from there? What, like, where, like, how did you guys meet? Like, I know a lot of people know that. I know that from like the songs and stuff like that, and from catching up with you guys on a very lovely boat on the
Yes.
Saltwater Eco Tours boat with Aaron. But for those that don't know, how did you guys meet and do music in that
Well,
way?
Chris and I, both of us have always had a really clear, self-identity. And we were both really confident and decided to do X Factor, the TV show. And somehow we met at the Melbourne airport. I flew in from Sydney at the time.
I flew in from Cairns.
Okay.
Yep.
And I saw Jazz at the airport. She had a guitar with her, and your mum as well.
And I was dressed in a pink tutu.
yeah.
So you assumed, well, she's got to be here for something.
I was like, she's a star for sure. So
exactly.
I
Well-
made my way over. I remember I played your guitar and sang you guys a song at the airport.
Yes,
Something
and my
crazy.
mum was very concerned because she was like, "Oh, he's a star."
Competitive mum vibes for sure. She was-
Okay, Jill, that's enough out of him, though. Move along, mate. Move along,
Yeah.
son. Move
Off
along.
you go.
We fell out of touch for a couple of years because we were both focusing on our own music and different ventures like that. But somehow it was through music that we reconnected.
Yeah, I saw a video of Jazz singing "If I Ain't Got You," and I was just like, I think I would have been 22, and I was like, "Oh, you're gorgeous!" Like, oh my goodness.
But you're
like,
and you were always like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm seeing you again. Like,
exactly.
oh.
Where do I know this person from?
Yeah,
Such
yeah.
a good voice, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm at the airport!" Like,
And I was so excited. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that guy messaged me from X Factor."
the airport guy.
the airport guy.
And now we are getting married on our 10-year anniversary.
2 months.
In
is
2 months, so-
that is super exciting.
Yes.
That is super exciting.
We're really excited. It feels like a good milestone
It's
to
another
celebrate.
thing, like, how you talk about having a home that you can come home to. Same thing with the wedding, just having something to save towards that we can be really excited about. That's been kind of the priority now for the last couple of months.
It has been.
Yeah, and also that home thing. It's home is a physical, and home is a person. If you've got a home that's a person, then you
Home
get
is
that
where
as
the
well.
heart is.
Exactly. So that whole idea of having music as not just something as an outlet, but it's a shared love. Like a lot of people I know that are in that sort of relationship music scene. Like I've done like 7,000 Apart, Ali Rowe, a lot of people that do that life and love thing. How do you find the balance of doing that?
Well-
And also the work thing as well, when you're not actually playing music as well, your jobs as well. How do you sort of manage that?
That's a really good question. And it's something that has always been very important to us is keeping our separate identities. My music is my own thing, and Chris also has his complete own style.
My music is my own thing as well. So.
And although we perform together and we tour together and we live together and work together, we like to remain as separate artists. So we don't have a band name. It is Chris Argy.
And JaZZella.
Yeah.
That's it.
And we like to bring that energy to all the things we do, but support each other's projects. So at a festival, you might see both of us separately on the lineup, and I'll still be on stage bringing the harmonies for Chris, and then in my act, he'll bring his.
Guitar and harmonies right back.
Yeah, no, I like that though. I think that's really good because, as you said, like the ones that I've just referenced, they don't necessarily even have. They actually have an opportunity for more divide, I suppose you could say. You actually have less because there's so many things. And even now that you aren't doing the van life thing, you have like the home life thing. And I suppose as part of that, there's just so many opportunities to get sort of bogged down and be like, I'm a little burnt out. I need a bit of space and things like that. But to be able to have your creative outlet and go, we're obviously going to do it together, but we're not going to like do it together. It's going to be something that we can both enjoy each other's company on, and
100%.
that's great. But it's still my thing, it's still your thing, and that's super cool.
Yes.
And like Erin and I have had that with her photography. Like she does great live music photography, but she goes to gigs. Like I'll come because I like hanging out, but she'll go to gigs that I don't play at that she's doing photos for. It's not like, oh, Bailey's here, so I guess I'm doing that. She's
No.
like, no, I get paid to do the photos. If you want me to do photos, I'll do photos for the lineup.
So good.
But this is my craft.
And you know, that's a part
this is
of
my craft is the line right there. Like that's you too, right? Like, yeah.
But it's also about, you know, respecting our own crafts and our own time. You know, early on when I first started performing, people would book Chris and they'd say, "Oh, and you're going to bring jazz, right?" And and I wanted to go and perform with Chris, and I wanted to be a part of opportunities like that. But I would say to Chris, "Tell him I'll cost double."
Yeah.
So true.
And do they know that it's a double act now? It's not just I'm not just the hired help.
That's right.
Yes, and there's a polite way to deliver that, and it was important to set that boundary because this is my livelihood, and that was why. Once again, we wanted to keep our identities separate, and then it also really helps strengthen us when we want to invest in big musical projects and ventures and things like that, because we're pooling all of our income together towards these kinds of things.
It's like a team effort.
Yeah, because you get to pool the resources, and it's definitely a thing that like happens in lots of things. But you get that collectivist. You get someone who's like, "Oh, I know what I can do here." And they go, yeah, so 1, 2, and it can be easy. Much like it's, you need the boundary for yourself, you got to get in there early with that boundary. Be like, no, guys, just letting you know, we're separate.
Yeah.
That's how we do things like that. And that's super important. And I think the business savvy thing is something that through necessity, Muso's have got to wisen up to. Not saying like you're thick as shit, but people are more inclined to take advantage. I feel like depending on your experience, but I feel like definitely I've experienced that. You know, we were talking about payment before, and you know, I need the cash yesterday, sort of thing. Which yes, you've done your act, but if you were doing anything else that was, you know, repairs on the fans in
the electrician,
you know, he's not going to leave with cash in hand at the end, but he's not just going to be paid in this enigmatic pay cycle that they always talk about. Oh, we'll just catch up at the end of the pay cycle. You know, that's the same sort of thing. It is a double standard.
But that's why, as a musician, in an industry like this, where it is flippant and you're hired for different jobs and things like that, we need to have multiple income streams.
So true.
And a diversification of income. And that's something that Chris and I figured out maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, we did just the musician thing, but to have other income supplementing ours just takes some of the pressure and the reliance. And you know, it's not fair to say, hey, go get a job as well. But if you can find something that you're doing that's still creative.
Yeah, that's complementary in any way.
That it's complementary. So, for example, these days we've got our gig income, but then we've got the original live performance reports from APRA.
Yep.
Original music royalties is a big one for a lot of independent artists. Then Chris works as a guitar technician.
Fixing 30 guitars a week.
We've run booking agents, and something else that we love to do is create content for fellow musicians, and that involves videography, photography, social media skills, understanding algorithms, and then on top of that, you know, there's other things that are really important to have a successful career, you know. So all in all, as an independent artist, we've got to be able to do everything.
And wear multiple hats.
Yeah, wear multiple hats.
But the pay cycle thing, to bring it back to the pay cycle thing, is nonsense, absolutely. And it's kind of one of those things that you can only go through by trial and fail, right? Like you play a venue, you put the faith in that venue, you go, please, you look professional, I'm sure you're going to pay soon. And if you get let down, you go, okay, cool. Note to self, can't rely on that venue, so I preference other venues.
Yeah. And that's just being savvy in a different way, and unfortunately you can't really get that savviness without the error in the trial. Like without actually doing the trial, you can't really figure it out.
No.
Until you've had a go, until you've mucked in, sort of thing.
Yep.
And I suppose that's an experience that anyone who watching or listening that yes, I should do that. I'm concerned about hot liquids.
It's dangerously cold.
Oh, it's temperature.
Yes, this is the temperature for tea.
Okay,
yes.
It's okay. So I've got this. Okay, I was worried going to melt the chocolate.
teacup.
And that whole idea of having sort of like not really an idea of how our world works, but in a way that's even more so to do with the concept of you working, you know, different jobs. Everyone's had multiple jobs, but we go to a different office each night. That's unique. Like, yes, you have potentially a certain business. Like my dad, cleaning, maintenance, production stuff he does, has regular clients, but we go to a different office every night. It's a very different vibe. He knows who's going to be at the office because they're the people that pay him. We don't know. Who knows what's going to happen each night, each week, those sorts of things. And that's I suppose, something that is very unique.
That's why Chris and I take our gig setup very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
When you're playing in different venue every single night, as you said, there's no consistency. You don't know who's going to be there. You don't know what the energy is going to be. And it's really important to us that we bring a consistent show.
Everything.
Yeah. The only thing that is fully in your control is you guys and everything you bring. And, you know, we can talk about the setup that we can see in front of us right now, how overly prepared I want to try and be in how I can make this show and stuff the best it can be by controlling as many variables and bringing the best show in a different setting, different sort of show as I can do. And that's the only thing that you're in control of.
100%. And ambiance is a really important factor in this day and age with so much content, with so much, so many things being produced. How are you going to stand out? So getting creative with lighting, getting creative with sound, getting creative with aesthetics.
Props.
Yeah, this isn't even tea, guys. I know he said it's cold. It's not even tea. It's just quick fill cement. That's why she's holding it.
But that's how you stand out. That's how you show off who you are on the internet and or in person as well when we bring our fairy lights to the stage.
So true. And that's why even if we're playing a dodgy gig at the dodgiest pub ever, if that's where we are, you'll see the best setup. There'll be beautiful lighting. There'll be a rug.
We
go above and beyond because then when I walk on stage, I can be Chris Argy, the performer, rather than Chris, the guy off stage, Yeah. The same thing for you as JaZZella instead of Jazz.
100%, because sometimes you got to turn the personal off and
the performer on. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm curious to hear, like, I know physically sort of part of the answer to this, but what your view is on that point of difference. What's your perspective on that, on having a point of difference because of the saturation and not so much saturation live-wise. Live-wise, you just sort of potentially may blend into the background and how are you going to grab their attention. But in the non-live setting, in the digital setting, how do you find a point of difference?
I think the greatest way to find a point of difference in online is to start with high quality content. And you know all about that. You reminded me as soon as, you got here.
Thank you.
It's always 4K.
Yeah.
And we learned that lesson.
Yeah, we did. Yep.
We put a lot of effort into creating some amazing YouTube videos. And we thought it would be okay if we filmed it all in 1080p because on social platforms you can only upload at 1080p.
It switches it anyway.
Yeah, so we thought, we'll save the compression and we'll just film it all in 1080p. But then, I don't know why, it rendered down and it was fuzzy, it was blurry, it wasn't quite the best quality.
When we crop into things for vertical content, which we predominantly use on social media.
It's the necessity, yeah.
Yeah, and we were losing quality, and I think that's what I like about 4K is that...
Exactly, and that's how you stand out because it is hard to get high quality content, even with all the best gear. We'd invested in all the best gear, but we had to learn those lessons and... I think that would be my tip is just focus on getting
I've got a thing to say on content because you just brought up a really good point as well. One of the best things that Jazz taught me you can do, because I always look up to Jazz, the way she runs content is amazing in my opinion. And that's why you're employed to do that at multiple businesses. But one of the best things she taught me was that two things. You've got to consume content to see what looks good and what is actually out there so you can see what they're doing that you could be doing as well or doing better. And then the other thing was Jazz taught me that you can either be a consumer on social media or a creator. And you kind of got to do both, but I really appreciated that because sometimes I can just sit there and scroll through TikTok and it could just take away my soul. Or if you start creating content, you get a different dopamine hit where you get attention in a different way and you're a part of feeding the algorithm rather than just being fed.
Absolutely, and you've earned on a point that has seemingly organically come up almost every episode, and that is at the moment just having that content thing and putting work in towards that. How can you consume creatively, be creative, but get that balance between, you know, I want to do the music side of things. I want to write more music. I want to do that stuff without being like, oh, I feel like all I do is I'm on my phone. That's a balance as well. And it's something that you got to
select what you're consuming.
Yeah.
And you got to control. I mean, it sounds so boring.
but you do have
to control your consumption.
It's so true though. It's more than just, you know, blue light glasses at the office. You got to actually be like, no, I think like that's enough for me for tonight. You know.
Yes, and when you are going to sit down and consume, like,
you ask me to podcast when you're going to consume these beautiful mediums that we know and love.
Put so much effort into.
But that's the thing. Like, what do we want to consume? And I feel like you're creating a space here for real discussions for local musicians to connect, and that's why people would be really excited to jump onto your channel here and watch this podcast, is because we can then connect with our local, you know, fellow musicians and hear how they're doing it. I mean, we're all in this together, and something that I've learned is your competition is not
it's not your local, that's for sure. It's not anyone in the industry, but it certainly isn't your local fellow musicians.
No.
Yes, and creating content like this that opens that window and that door, I think is really, really special. And so, yeah, when I'm on the internet, I'm looking up things that I'm passionate about, and then I'll sit there and I'll be like, oh, I'm inspired by this kind of music. I want to find artists like that, and I'll go look up artists, and I'll spend an hour scrolling, but I feel like I've learnt something at the end of it.
Yeah, okay. So that flagged an interesting point. How do you guys find new music? How do you guys personally do it?
Spotify discovery.
It is a lot of Spotify.
Okay, yeah.
And honestly, trending audios also kind of pick up my ear. Like if I'm on TikTok and I'm hearing the same thing over again, I'm
give
gonna
it a spin. You at least have a spin.
I'm gonna be like, okay, what am I listening to here? Why is this getting plays? Like,
all
you
the
know.
time. Yep.
Everything's like a big old, you know, you're listening, but you're like, why am I listening? What's grabbing my attention?
What is the earworm in here that I'm trying to find?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the thing I enjoy about music too.
Yeah.
So that's not how everybody listens to music though.
No, well, that's the thing. When we were talking before about, when I said about podcasting and listening to podcasts in the car, and you saying that wasn't necessarily a venture you had begun with yet. For me, because I am actually... I don't say it actually as if you're going to be surprised, consuming music a lot, and I'm part of that non-stop doing this, songs, this, that, and everything else. I actually need a palate cleanser when I'm in the car by myself. And much like I'm loving having conversations with people like you, I know I'm not having the conversation, but there is a subconscious that you feel like you guys are just chatting it up, and I love what you have to say, and I'm just cooking dinner at the bench, and I'm not super in the conversation, but I'm just happy to be there, and that's the vibe I get listening to a podcast. And
it's a great analogy.
Yeah, I'm just happy to be there, and you're not going to include me, but I am fully invested, and I remember these things and enjoy those.
Makes you think differently, and you leave that with a new perspective on something.
Absolutely, and like for me, listening, because obviously I listen back to these podcasts for hours as I go through and edit them, and as I go through and edit them, especially with some of the Zoom ones where maybe I've cut something off because of our delay or whatever, they might have said something and I've gone, I didn't realize you said that. I actually didn't hear that. Or perhaps I was looking at something else, or I was focused on you and you said just a quip that I might have missed. I heard it, but I didn't really listen. So I get to enjoy it again when I go back and edit it and that was a good point she made. That I like that he thought that, those sorts of things. And that's why I really like podcasting as a medium, as basically a palate cleanser for music.
That's funny. I've just realized our palate cleanser, when we get off like a big stage performance and it's loud, we literally hop in the car and we drive like hours home in just silence.
Okay.
It's just complete.
It's very dramatic.
It's so like the juxtaposition.
Or you'll put on an album. Like we do listen to whole albums in the car. Like
I love listening to an album.
Normally when we're driving, we'll be heading to Brizzy or the Gold Coast, so it's always
worth its while in
an hour
time,
and a half. Yeah. So like recently we've listened to Billie Eilish's new album. We love listening to Mac Miller's album.
Frank Ocean's album.
We recently listened to Rihanna's album again.
Oh, her old one, yes.
Yes.
True, yeah.
What was that called? X?
No clue. Lost me.
Yes,
Anti.
we listened to it.
It was called Anti.
Anti.
I was going to say,
Anti's such a good album.
Back to Chris. I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. Can I watch back these with you, Valley, to edit them so I can remember what Jazz said halfway through? But yeah, just happy to be here. No, I love that. I was actually wondering, what do you feel about listening to your own music? How does that make you feel? Is that something you ever do, or if it comes up,
fan.
you go...
We listen to our own music all the time.
My most valued streamer is me.
Chris.
Yeah, Spotify is down to like a 5K radius of this address, and you're like, man, Spotify's getting good.
Malula Bar loves this song.
Yeah, what?
And it's funny because throughout the whole like creation and recording and producing and mixing process, obviously we listen to our song hundreds of times, but it's different when it's online. It's different when it's out on the platforms.
Finished.
Once it's released, I'm like, well, I've got to hear it on Apple Music. I've got to hear it on Spotify. I've got to hear it on Tidal. And I want to go listen on all these places. And it feels new again for me because I'm putting myself in the shoes of the listener and I'm excited. And
You got to hear it on the home studio monitors. You got to hear it in the headphones. Got to hear it in the car. Got to hear it from the speakerphone on your phone. What about the iPad? You got to hear it on that too. Like
I've listened to my new song like 5 times today. I'm not even joking. But it's just exciting. It's scary. And so I want to remind myself like, oh, what is it that everyone's hearing?
I actually love that because I thought there was going to be a bit of a healthy dislike because maybe because for the most part I've only ever had one song that I've ever put out under me that I didn't either have lots of fingers on, completely do myself, or essentially not have fully done. It's like a stripped back version or something like that. But even then, I'm still doing it myself. So for me, I'm just hearing me, or I'm hearing the different seasons of where I was at when I was at that mixing level or at this mixing level. And man, that was an interesting choice. And that's not the balance you should have gone with. So perhaps that's just me. But I think now that I've done stuff with the Justice Trio and I've recorded and played on and mixed the record.
wow.
It got mastered, so I get to have time off. Like now, I'm in my palette cleansing phase right now of that. So it comes out July 12, and the idea is that I don't really plan on listening to them outside of just making sure that the masters are all perfect and there's nothing been cut out. I don't plan on listening to them until July 12. So that I get a little bit...
Oh, I like that.
That's cool.
So that I do actually enjoy it when it comes out on July 12.
Abstinence
I've never
of
thought
original
of that.
music.
That's when I find it enjoyable. Is when and also it's not just one song.
I've never thought to do that, but I'm intrigued.
Because you have your upload process where you have to wait as it goes up to the platforms and gets submitted and all this. I'm not going to be jumping in and having a listen. I want to listen to it on the day because...
You trust it after that.
Yeah,
you trust yourself. You're not second guessing.
So many hours as well. I've had so many hours listening to it, mixing it and stuff.
That's a good use of your time. Like that's actually a very productive.
We waste hours listening to it.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, hang on a second.
This is why I said you had to come over a little later because we were just cranking our own tunes.
Yeah, wow. I have a new perspective on things.
Well, tell me about the new song though. Since you brought it up, tell me about the new song.
The Victim is a very exciting release because it's a different side of the album. So far, I've launched my career with all of my kind of bubblegum pop songs. And I've created an album at Yamanui. And it's a 10-track album called Stars and Guitars. And I've released kind of the songs that would be on the A side of the record.
Sure, yep.
But you know how the B side has like what the artist truly feels.
That's what I mean. It's like the ones that, I don't know if these are...
And I have not known if they're going to come out, to be honest. I've been umming and ahhing and I've surprised myself with how long this project has taken. But at the same time, there hasn't been a rush because this particular record has been very personal. And Stars and Guitars is all about the light and shade of life. And it touches on many different happy and sad emotions. It touches on like happiness and joy and love, like you may have heard Tuesday, which is all about running away to fall in love with Chris. Or you might have heard Shoot, which is all about following your dreams. But The Victim is an introduction to the more heavy topics that I want to talk about, which is mental health. And it's about opening up and revealing those more vulnerable sides of who we are. And The Victim is, the most vulnerable, revealing song that I've ever put out. And I've got 4 more songs like this that I really want to share. And The Victim just kind of introduces you to a side of me that is not happy or that is...
the duality of a Gemini.
Yeah,
right?
it's the other side. And I think that's ever present. Like that's actually what the Justice Trio record's about. It's about the whole idea of that is it's not just love song after love song, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like Tuesday's a banger for those playing at home, but it's not about that. It's about having
a message.
Yeah, and about you'll make it. The one from literally called "Make It Through." It's about making it through, and it's about getting out the other side. And not everything's going to happen all at once. Things will happen in good time, and those sorts of things. I like that. That's where a lot of people are going with either songwriting or just what they're releasing at the minute. You've just lined it up. This is what's coming out at the minute, and I like that because I think that's way nicer to be having come out now. That's the new wave of music that seems to be coming out. It's stuff that's very much about
authenticity.
Yeah, you might be having a bad day, and that's okay. Yeah, rather than so she left me at the bus stop,
and something that I love with my music is talking about something really sad, but the melody and the music is such
a
happy.
bop. Yes, yep.
You know, but the message is actually like, why do I feel so numb inside? You know what I mean? But it's bouncy and it's fun, and so the listener is connecting with the lyrics and connecting that they're feeling numb, but they're feeling better because the music is good.
It's not like,
you know, and I like
one's
that.
about JaZZella's sort of inner feelings.
Yeah.
Probably going to be a sad one.
Brace yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to play with that energy, and then the listener is like, wait, is she saying she's super depressed? Or is this the most happy, fun, boppy song? You know, I like those feelings as well, and there's, you know, a lot of that to come on the next few songs that are going to be on Stars and Guitars.
Awesome. Well, what about you, Chris? What about your music? Tell me about your music and what that's about and where you come from in that space.
Well, I am making new music all the time. I've got just oodles and oodles of music on that Mac in there.
Yeah.
And I think I've just been kind of umming and ahhing about the whole collaboration thing, like, because I know that collaboration is such a big part of the industry.
I love it.
Right? But I also concede that right now, especially saving for a wedding, like, you don't have unlimited budget to go into production or for players or for distribution or marketing. So you start wearing a lot more hats. Yeah. So right now, I guess I'm trying to improve my production hat and just get a little bit closer to delivering finalized music that I can be happy with that I've created here as well.
Yeah, I absolutely resonate with that. That's exactly what I've been feeling recently, you know, going from that really polished demo that can give anyone an idea of what the song fully fleshed out is going to sound like, but that isn't there yet.
Yes.
How do I go to that next level?
Just break through that ceiling into, well, it's there.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to just get it to there so then I can consistently release music on a consistent schedule. But without that, you know, one thing I learned from my last album, I had such a great time making my album, Love Stoned. It was like I spent probably $15,000 to $20,000 recording, playing with players, writing in Amsterdam. Like, I mean, that's probably where all the money went. But you know, all of these things to get this album out. And that album was more about discovering who I was at that period of time more than anything else. But that's years worth of income to go towards music. If I could just do it myself, I could release more consistently. So that's the plan.
You know, that made me think of what we said at the start of this chat about how you kind of need like 10,000 hours to master a craft. And yeah, that's the balance, you know, because as a musician, of course, you've done your 10,000 hours. And so
as a performer.
And as a performer, so you'd hope that that's all that it takes, you know, that, you know, singing, songwriting and playing guitar. But now you've learnt you've got to become a master at production.
You need to make content.
And the thing is, you can't afford to invest 10,000 hours into all those different avenues, but you're still looking for the same result. And that's where you got to be selective with your time and
and also selective with your budget. For me, I have never been comfortable mastering something that I would hang my hat on, like outside of, like, it's one of those things that I know absolutely how to master. I know exactly how to do mastering.
Yep.
Just because I know how to do it. Like, I'm sure that if I looked at the stretches involved in diving, I could figure out how to contort my body in those ways, but I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So it's like I understand the principles of mastering. I know what a compressor does. I know what limiters do. I know what all the buttons do, but I don't know how to get that product to that shelf we were talking about.
Yep.
So for me, and like I was having this discussion with the boys before when we sort of decided that I'd take over doing the Justice Trio record, I was like, anyone, name, religion, or creed, couldn't care less, but someone else is going to master it. Someone who's a quote-unquote pro has to master it.
Yes.
Because if I put this online and everyone goes, drums are phenomenal, guitar parts, magnificent, vocals, punchy, but it's too quiet, none of it was stylistic, it's too quiet.
Yeah.
But if it's mastered right and there's no kick drum and the cymbals are very soft, everyone's like, oh, so that's a stylistic choice.
Yes.
So it's all a stylistic choice if it's at that level. So I know mastering's more than just making it loud, but if it's matching up and falling in your Discover Weekly and you don't know, you just go, oh, it's a song from a different person I've never heard of. And you go, I wouldn't have done that with the guitars. Suddenly that's just my stylistic choice or something I've lapsed in rather than, oh, this song's very quiet.
So true.
They published a demo. And that's where I'm not past that yet. And I'm like, no, let's save our cookies. Let's get our funds together and let's put it towards that. That's where I think the time is best spent.
Like, so you got to choose what you're going to invest in.
Exactly. I do marketing for a living. I can manage the content stuff. I can handle that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just not there yet. So I would like this bit to be handled by you because I know that you've got it.
Who have you used for mastering for this?
So I've used. I'll put it up now because John will. And essentially, it's a guy in Milwaukee that John knows from doing stuff in the States. So he's been fantastic. He's been brilliant to work with. Like when we first said we're going to do 6 tracks, he's like, sweet. He did the single distant and was like, oh, if we're doing the rest, let's just sort it out at the end. He's like really aware that we're up and coming and he wants to give us the best shot. So he's great. Reece Zacher from Spinlight Studio in New South Wales, he's the bee's knees. He was the one guy who's mixed and mastered a song of mine, and I can listen to that over and over because I'm like, I know I played all that stuff, but once I stopped playing, you took over. Yeah. And so I'm fully happy with how it all came together. So yeah, I've surrounded myself with people who are really good at it. So as much as I'm always trying to improve, I'm not worried. I'm happy to always allot that's the thing that I will get someone else to do.
Well, that's cool because it's like tying a ribbon on the project anyway. And you want someone who's got that creative spark to tie that ribbon. We've used a guy for years now called Paul Blakey. Shout out to Paul Blakey. Yep.
We love you, Paul Blakey.
12th and Vine. And he not only delivers such a great product and works with so many artists.
But he takes the time to give real feedback and write you his thoughts on where the track sits and what he thought on the sonical, intricacies.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And on top of that, he also helps out musicians with, like, from my experience, with just such a beautiful rate that has made it really affordable to actually master music and get it to a really good standard. So,
which is what we're after. That's what we're chasing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that the thing is with people like that is not only do you need more people like that who understand their clientele, because a lot of people don't understand their clientele. It's like, so you realize that up and coming musicians are the ones that are going to hit you up sort of thing, and then we're not even having the same conversation, let alone haggling sort of thing. And I think part of that comes down to there's clearly a love there. Mm-hmm. He's given you feedback before he even turns a single knob and switch on the mixing desk because he wants you to value that he's listened to it critically. Mm-hmm. And that's another reason why having Justin do the ones for us has been great because he's never heard this. Yeah. I'm so in it. And like John's so in it, not because he's heard the mixes thousands of times, but because he wrote the damn things. And so having John and Caleb to tell me that needs to be louder, that needs to be quieter is great. But having Justin come in and go, where's the bass? It's gone. Yeah. Oh, is it? Okay. Like, didn't factor in. Maybe I'm just hearing what I want to be there, which is definitely a curse that like self-production can be. You've heard what you want.
Fresh ears.
Yeah, you've heard what you want to be in there. And that's why I like this forced abstinence over the release upload.
We'll change the forced abstinence and we'll call it musical foreplay. That's what we'll call it. That's pretty much what it is, all right? I'm going to abstain from this, and then when it comes out, that'll be the moment.
Musical edging.
Oh my gosh! So that's put a whole new spin on the Justice Trio record.
You're into some kinky stuff, Bailey.
Yep. Yes. Wow. Lots to unpack there, guys. So if you don't stream the album when it comes out on July 12th, then holy smokes! I guess I'm going to be doing it all by myself.
I'm looking forward to listening to it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
looking forward to listening to your album.
I appreciate that. I'm actually looking forward to enjoying it as well. And it's been fun to play these songs. And like, there is nothing quite like playing your own songs. And like, as much as I haven't written these, it's so nice to know that I'm such a valued member, and like how you value each other's inputs on things, but you have something that you're super proud of, and then to be able to play it live, there's something about that. There's really something. And I don't really know how to put into words. I'm going to make that hard for you. How would you sort of describe to someone that has maybe just plays cover bands or maybe hasn't been on stage, something? What is it like to play your own music in front of an audience?
Vulnerable. Like it makes it makes me vulnerable. I guess I care a lot deeper about how everything comes out in my original show than I do as a cover artist. As a cover artist, you make a mistake, you fall flat on a note, forget a word.
But I feel like your nonchalant attitude towards making a mistake at a cover gig is because you're so comfortable in that space. You know that the show must go on. You know that it's not a big deal if you sing a slightly different melody here or there. Whereas your original show, you haven't performed it as much.
So true. Yeah, it's not as practiced
You
as
haven't
well.
spent as much time in that space.
And that's also because, when you've got I've got a 9-piece band. So putting a 9-piece band together, you don't get too many opportunities to practice with that band.
No, of course.
So you've got to make it count. And so, I guess, it's vulnerable, but it's also really rewarding. Like when you finish performing an original show, it's a different feeling of euphoria. It's just like, oh my God, like I just sang all these things that were in here and now they're here.
Let's go to the penthouse and party.
That's pretty much it.
And they'll sit in the van in silence.
Yeah, so true.
Risk nothing, gain nothing.
So true.
And like for the outset, like I remember, I go back to when we were very intimately sort of enjoying, not musical edging intimately, but we were intimately on the Saltwater Eco Tours boat whilst you guys were playing and stuff. And you said, I was like, surely play a couple of yours, Chris. And you're like, okay. And everyone was loving it. Everyone was just enjoying it. But I see what you mean. It's a little bit of like, okay.
Yeah, I'll do it original.
Yeah, okay.
You want me.
Whatever.
You care about me.
Yeah, it's like, okay. Modeling, it's
It
just,
makes your day, to be honest. When
exactly.
someone asks you to play your own music at a gig, it makes your day.
You feel really seen. You
Yep.
feel really heard. You feel really validated.
Yeah, because the engagement's there. Because the fact that you even knew that I was playing music, because some people they're there, but last time nobody's home, which is fine. They're doing something else. They're not there for you, whatever. But then when someone goes, "Have you got something of your own you could pop on for us?"
Yes, I do.
Yes,
oh my
I do.
God. Strap yourself in.
Exactly.
Yeah, so true.
No, that's very special. So what's next coming up for you guys? What's on the horizon? Obviously the songs, but
We released our first song together last year, together as two separate artists.
Catching vibes.
amazing. That's now going to be the new intro to the podcast.
So that was really fun. I really enjoyed actually collaborating with you on an original song, and we want to do it again. So we are currently writing...
We're writing a wedding song.
Nice.
It's a tax deduction. Our wedding is a tax deduction,
It's
ladies
a
and gentlemen.
write-off, guys. It is absolutely above board.
But the truth is, it is. We are wedding entertainers. That's one of our many hats. And with that in mind, we're going to try and create wedding content for our business, and then aspects of the wedding will be a tax deduction, and that's just good business.
It is. And also, I've actually been wondering, I'm talking about this with Erin and stuff, like it's always come up, you know, when we get married, what's the, am I going to play? Like, well, am I going to play some of it?
We've booked a 9-piece band.
Yeah, I was like, am I involved? Am I just hanging out? Do I get people I know to play? Like, it's actually very confusing because suddenly it's like, picking the best man, piece of piss. I'll figure that out. I'll figure that day before. What's the music going to be? You know, how was that process?
That was amazing.
We just booked Chris's original band.
What we realised was
Oh,
that...
so you knew a guy? Yeah.
What we realised was that if there was anywhere that we were willing to put money where our mouth was, it was funding our friends and people who we respect in the industry to come and be a part of our wedding.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And we obviously in the wedding industry, so we know how much that costs. Some of the people, obviously the players are really looking after us too, but I'm so stoked. We've got like the best musos and they're all playing great music for us. Our celebrant is Chang.
We're going to get up and
He's
sing a wedding song we wrote and have a first song.
We've got a first song, a first dance.
That's magic. And I love that. And it's like you get to enjoy our special day in a even more special way. And that's just win-win-win for you.
Well,
like in the
music
grand
is
scheme
a
of
huge part of our relationship.
exactly.
Yeah.
So to be able
Makes
to
sense
share,
to share that, yes.
with people you love, that's exciting for them as well as for you guys.
100%. I can't wait to entertain my guests.
I know that, and also I think, but seriously, from a guest perspective though, it's a novelty. Like
Yeah.
people going to weddings, that's not happening all the time.
No, not
You
at
know,
all.
so-
we should have lapel mics as you walk down the aisle.
But I can imagine, Jazz got a clipboard. Yeah, hey guys, just letting you know, that table arrangement, we could probably do better.
I feel like the choreography could be a little snappier, if
Yeah.
I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, are we throwing those flowers or are we dropping them? Okay?
Come on, little Cindy.
You guys
Throw
are
the flowers.
better at planning this wedding than I am. I'm looking at both of you
Got
and
big
I'm like,
plans,
I haven't-
baby.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a clipboard at home. I can bring my own stuff. It's fine.
Many hats.
Many hats.
Many hats, guys. Many hats. No, well, it's awesome to see what you guys got going on musically and personally and stuff. And I suppose to finish, I want to get an idea of what because I know you have such a positive outlook on things. You understand how things work and how the world works, but you have a positive outlook, which I think is so important and so special right now. For anyone who's feeling a bit naff about music industry stuff, I'm not playing enough gigs. Where do I get the gigs? My original band doesn't go anywhere. Gigs, venues shutting down. What are your thoughts on how we get out of that, or just where we're at with that?
That is something that we think about a lot is there's so many beautiful local musicians, and with things like Kalange Music Festival getting cancelled and festivals around the country getting cancelled, we're losing opportunities. There's less funding than ever, it seems, or it's really hard to access.
Where is it going? Yeah, where is it going then? Yeah.
And so what Chris and I believe is that it comes down to local connection and local support. And that's kind of how the Mooloolaba music sessions were born.
Yep.
That's something that, Mooloolaba music, Locals in the Loop, and Chris and I have really banded together to provide to the local community. And
Absolutely.
An outlet.
it's an
Another
outlet, and it's a way that we can all connect, and different musicians that wouldn't have necessarily, supported each other before are in the same room, and it's a very intimate environment. And the point is to capture beautiful content for musicians so they can book more gigs, they can apply for more grants, they have footage, and that's something that we're really passionate about.
I mean, the whole reason why I got a job at the local music shop was to fix the local musicians' guitars.
Yeah.
I'm not there selling stuff. You won't find me at the counter picking up strings and putting them through the till. I'm there constantly I'm the guy that, man, my guitar's broken and I've got a gig tonight. Could you fix the input? Yes, I can. What a great role to have in the local community. I'm down for that.
And also, how often do you get instant gratification? Like, it's like, I did something and I know that it helped you just then.
Yes.
I just saw it help you. Like, how
100%.
often is that transaction so quick?
It is so quick. And then I think the Mooloolaba music sessions that we've been doing are really cool because they might have a little bit of a longer time frame, but you still get that same result when you put out content and all of a sudden Maton shares it on their page and you've got hundreds of thousands of people consuming it and everyone's benefiting from it. It's a really rewarding feeling.
Yeah.
And so that's something that, we're really pushing at the moment, and we're trying to get as many people involved as possible. And I really love it. It's just another creative project.
Yeah, and it's collaboration, it's community, and I think
It's social media.
It is.
And all of these different things that we do, whether it's guitar teching or social media or videography or photography, it all ties into music and the creative industry, and that we are just creatives and artists, and this is what we love to do. And so we're wearing all these different hats.
And I think it's also okay in the industry, like you were saying before, to fluctuate, ebbs and flows. We are not 100% productive 100% of the time.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we fall off the wagon. And I think it's really important, right now the industry is so content focused.
Yeah.
And we're also artists at the same time. And I think sometimes you just, your most recent single is 8 years in the making. That's an 8-year long recording that we'd worked on. So it's not just
And I still listen to it 5 times today.
Exactly. She's not sick of it, guys.
No.
No, I like that. That's absolutely true. And it's as I said, it's community, it's networking, it's collaboration. And for anyone who knows you guys, they would know that is absolutely your bread and butter and right up your alley. And I couldn't feel more that way than be sitting on your couch right now talking to you about it. So thank you for inviting me into your home, and thank you for having this conversation with me, because I think there's a lot of inspiration that people are going to hear from this to really get them on their way. And I think that's what's most important right now. I've always said that this is about helping people find their next favorite artist, and they absolutely could do that in both of you. But the idea as well now has sort of become finding a inspirational sort of outlook, a positive outlook, a different outlook from people who know.
Different perspectives.
Yes, and just from people who have skin in the game, that they are qualified to talk about it, but they have a perspective that's valuable. And what can you gain from that?
And the best thing that one artist can do for the next artist is inspire.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so I'm constantly looking at like my friends, and I'm inspired by things that they do. And I operate my business in a way that I hope then would inspire other people too. And we're all building each other up, and that's how we all move forward together.
I get to just sit here and be inspired by you every day. It's awesome.
Once again, we go back to Chris is just happy to be here.
Just happy to be here, folks.
No, well, guys, I'm very happy to be here. So thank you for having me here. And
it's been the happy to be here sessions.
It has. So we've got the Chris Cuddle sessions, which was a completely off camera thing that I realized I've referenced that there's no context for in this whatsoever.
We can make a Chris Cuddle session.
So subscribe on Patreon. No, but,
Cuddles on the couch.
but no, seriously though, thank you so much for having me and for imparting your wisdom and your musical prowess and giving us an impromptu number for a couple of lines. And it's very very exciting to see what people like you are doing for the industry, and to be a part of it. It's very exciting as well.
Thanks, Bailey. We loved being a part of your podcast. Thanks for having us.
Our pleasure. Well, guys, that is another episode. Fantastic to actually do a first in-person episode for these two lovely individuals in their home. The only thing is, it's a shame they're so shy. But but as always, guys, you know where to find these. It's Apple Podcasts, it's Spotify, it's YouTube. And until next time, guys.
Keep on living the life.
She just took my line. Until next time, guys. I'll see you later. I love that you just came in. You're just like, you know what? Fuck you, Bailey. I've got my own line.
Funny. You're just like my brand.
Yeah, exactly. My couch, guys. My couch.